You
Evans.
think you're funny,
Yeah.
huh? Somebody commented in and said these guys think they're so funny.
We are
and I
funny.
went, yeah.
And wait a minute, that is your apology?
I'm sorry. You know I properly apologize. You were right. I was wrong. You're smart. I'm not. I'm trying to think of one
By the
more.
way, just so
This
you
is
know,
the open.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel, presented by Connors and Ferris, Mike Catalana, Dan Jugs, Fates. I'm Jenna Cottrell.
Dan Fates Jugs. My face hit the...
Wouldn't it be your nickname? Is it like name, nickname, last name?
Yeah.
that's what it is. If you missed it, and Dan did not miss the jugs machine, go back to the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Dan.
It's good.
Sore.
Okay, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, as well as share. We always appreciate that. We're at nearing the end of training camp. And today was interesting because we get to hear from Josh Allen a lot, obviously. But today we got to hear when he was asked about Stefon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was something that kind of had an interesting tone, in my opinion.
I think Josh says everything the way he feels it at the moment, or at least the way he wants it out there. And in the past, I think he has been effusive in his praise for Stefon Diggs.
That's a 5-star word.
Did you
Yeah,
like that
Dan
word?
cannot smell that.
Well,
I
I
don't even
mean,
know the first letter.
I love the guy. He's awesome. Helped me. Did all those things. And it fit. Well, Diggs isn't here. He's not here. And I think we could hear from him in the idea he was asked a question about basically missing Stefon Diggs.
I think Steph's a great player, and what he brought to this team was special. So miss is I don't know if I'd say miss. He was a guy that was reliable. You can look to. He's going to have the juice each and every day. I'm sure he's bringing it over there in Houston. So definitely, you can't say that you don't miss that. But I am very happy with what we got going on here and how hard the guys have been working. And I'm very comfortable with the guys that we've brought in. And it's no secret, Steph was an all-pro here, and he's got the stats to back it up. Each year he had 100-plus catches and 1,000-plus yards, and that's a heavy workload for someone to come and fill those shoes. And I understand that. The guys in that room understand that. But at the same time, the approach that these guys have had of working hard and putting their head down, and, when they get the ball, they get the ball, and when they don't, they're doing everything they can to help somebody else get the ball and break them free. So, I guess we'll find out.
I don't think he said anything bad about him.
Agreed.
I think it was just at a level 5, not 11.5.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning, like, it was just like, it's words, it's accurate, it was
Yeah.
Yes.
good, it wasn't bad, it just was, he's on another team, fully moved on.
I think Josh is getting a little tired of the narrative. You are probably a little tired of the narrative. But this narrative is going to linger into the season, throughout this season. The Bills trying to fill what Stefon Diggs brought. You heard Josh say it, like, he was something special to this team. What he did, his dependability. That's what they're hoping to find. But that's going to be when the offense isn't good, Diggs is going to get brought up again. Like, that's just the way
Yeah.
that this works.
And
That-
before you add in here, I just wanted to say, when I'm saying this about Diggs, and they're saying this, if Stefon Diggs retired, it doesn't really matter that he's on Houston. What matters is he's not in Buffalo.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about this. This is not about competing with him. It's not about that game in October. This is like, dude's not here, and you have to find out who's getting all those targets.
Yeah.
So it's important whether he left under great circumstances, retired, didn't want to play football, got traded somewhere else. It's just he's not here, and Josh has to now have a different
You look like you
offense.
disagree.
I don't agree with that, because while the end result is the same, that he is not playing for the Bills, I think the optics are what drive things, because he was traded away when there was still a lot of money for the Bills at stake, and all those things that played into it, that it seemed like a move that they made because they wanted him out as opposed to keeping him in.
I agree with you 1,000% with that. I'm saying is on the football field, it doesn't matter
Okay,
right now.
yes, I see what
It's
you're
just
saying,
like
yeah.
he's not
Yes.
here. So whatever the reason, it could be, it isn't, it's an injury, like whatever it is. No Diggs, huge part of their offense.
Yeah.
Now they have to figure it out. That is the narrative football-wise going forward, because you got a bunch of guys out there fighting to see who's going to get the targets this year.
Yeah. Do we think, is there one guy that has stepped up more? And again, it's not going to be one guy. We've heard Sean McDermott say it's going to be a group effort. But is there a guy that has emerged as maybe, hey, he can be more of a dependable guy? Because I thought that was the one thing that stood out to me. He was a reliable guy with what he brought, the intensity, all of those things. Is there anybody that stands out?
I think Khalil Shakir has shown that he can be that when he gets more opportunity. Now, without there being Stefon Diggs, the question bears, is he going to be able to handle all the extra attention that comes from a defense? I also will say for myself, going into this season, I did not expect Mac Hollins to really be as involved on the offensive side.
Great.
I thought it would be special teams and all. Oh, cute, he can play wide receiver, but I've seen more from him than I was originally expecting. But also, like, those guys are not Diggs.
I think Mac has brought a lot of the juice, the energy, that intensity. And then I think Curtis Samuel, by where they've moved him around. Steph was another guy, too. They moved Steph around. He wasn't just okay, you go on the outside, that's all you do. Like, there is versatility that I'm seeing constantly with Curtis Samuel that I like.
I agree with both those guys. Obviously, Kincaid is going to be a
of
reliable
course.
guy. But I will also add this. It's training camp. We're here every day. We are looking more for the shiny object because you have Kincaid and you have Shakir. Both really good players. Kincaid had a little more production over the entire year. But we say it all the time when we talk about our pass catcher. Well, you could always say Kincaid. You could always say Shakir. But when we get to the season, that's a great thing if they are consistent. We're looking for that other guy. And I think when you ask that, both of those guys have shown that. And obviously Keon has shown that too. When you look and you go, there's something here with this guy. It's about melding all that together.
Yep.
And then it's one thing to see it out here in Fisher against the defense. And then it's another thing to see it against the Cardinals and then against the Dolphins and everybody else as the season goes along. How does it map out? How does Joe Brady get the most out of that group?
I wanted to make one point, and I thought of, figured out the analogy that I've wanted to say with Keon. We talked about it before, and time again, it's what constantly stands out to me is his late hands. And I was talking to Carl Jones of WIVB, and just the comparison that I could make is that I always usually make the golf or the baseball analogies. But defensive backs play through wide receivers' hands. When they see their hands come up, that's when they know the ball is coming. That's how it works. When I was a catcher in baseball, if there was a base hit and there was going to be a play at the plate, you never wanted the catcher to stand there like eagerly waiting, like the ball's coming, because the runner coming around third base naturally runs faster because you think the ball's there. You're kind of taught as a catcher to stand there like bored, like waiting for the last minute and then make the play in the tag. It's the same thing with a cornerback. If you're seeing if you're seeing hands come up early, okay, I can play through your hands and go up and get it. But at the last minute, how many times did Stefon Diggs catch footballs with his hands down here? And the defensive back's like, when did the ball even get here? Because that's what I'm seeing with Keon. That's the next level stuff that I see with Keon that Carl was joking around saying, there are some athletes that play wide receiver. They're just big, tall, fast, and athletic, and they say, go catch passes. Keon's a wide receiver that is just very, very athletic. Can play above the rim.
Yes.
I also think he's a smart player, and I think he will figure out some of the things. It's like when defensive linemen come in and they physically overmatched offensive linemen in college.
Yeah.
Then they learn how important it is with their hands, to play with their hands, to get leverage on another player. I think he's going to need to learn a lot of things in games about dealing with press coverage, dealing with veteran
just like
corners,
Orlovsky said.
Yep.
to know how to do that. But his physical traits, and we see those. But there's a lot of tall guys who can jump, who go up, but they don't always bring the ball down.
Yeah.
I got to say, his percentage is pretty good.
Yep.
What we've seen here.
Yes.
We know it has to stretch out to when there's the games, but he does not just have the ability to go up, he's got the ability to go up and bring it down with him.
He has been impressive throughout camp. I do think it's important, though, to set the expectations. I don't want to say low. I feel like that's not giving him enough credit. I just think that there is an adjustment period, and for him, you can see what the ceiling could be and how spectacular he could be. But for fans, I think it's safer to kind of feel like we'll see what he can be, and I think he can be great, but let's not put too much on his plate right now, because what I've seen from him so far has been really nice and impressive, but there's also levels to how things go about.
Do you want to see Josh Allen play this upcoming Saturday? Josh says he doesn't know. He said he's fine. He says he doesn't necessarily need it at this stage in his career in the preseason. He understands the fact of not getting injured and being safe. He says he's the competitor. The competitor in him always wants to play. But you made a very interesting point earlier today when we were watching practice on whether or not you want to see Josh play. Because we were both like, Pittsburgh, like just play a quarter in Pittsburgh, get some drives together. And you were the opposite.
Yeah, I look at it this way. If you're going to play him, I wouldn't mind seeing it done at home and early, because if there's anything, because if Josh is playing, the starters are out there. The whole O-line.
The O-line. You're not
Yeah.
putting Josh out there with the
go
backup
to,
O-line.
right, but then you go to Pittsburgh, you have that practice against the Steelers, controlled environment, be competitive. That would be the time I'd have Josh on the field. I don't know if, who's playing for the Steelers when they play in that game. I just look at it and say, I don't need him to play in these games. And I got to tell you, we've heard him before where he'll just say, and we may find out, on Wednesday or, whenever it is, that he'll be like, yeah, he's playing on Thursday. He's playing in the game. He sounded like a guy who already, in my opinion, sounded like a guy who already knows he's not playing in the preseason.
Interesting.
Not in the building.
Yes.
Not in the building.
Not in the building is correct.
I mean, what I would want is for him not to play in the preseason. I just think the risk so far outweighs the reward. And I think of a couple years ago when Josh had that. I mean, was it against Green Bay in the preseason?
When
The
he
perfect-
lit it up.
Just incredible. And then they looked like trash that week 1 against the Steelers. So I know there's a lot of new faces. I understand that. I hear you all. But I just think for this team, what he means, especially now, that much more, it's like, let's just bubble wrap him, sideline. Well, let's get to
And
week
last
1.
year it was Pittsburgh where they looked horrendous.
Oh, yeah.
And even Josh said it when he was asked about it, pretty much like, it doesn't matter. And which it's like, it's great when you get that little bit of honesty, because I remember after the Pittsburgh where it was like, uh-oh, this is problems, Dorsey, all these things, and it's like, this is gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was right.
Well, their offense.
Credit to me.
So that's an interesting discussion, though, because their offense did not look great, which that
Against
was
the-
a Dorsey offense.
Against the Jets, which they've never looked good.
Dorsey, that's fair. The Dorsey offense, though, did struggle. Obviously, he got fired.
That is correct.
So you can make the argument either way.
Yeah.
Credit to me, you can make the argument either way.
Josh also talked about the relationship with Joe Brady, how that's evolved, and said how important it is to have that relationship where you can have an open dialogue, that when things are going good and things are going bad, it wasn't, to me, it didn't read as a shot at all, but it was telling that their relationship feels different than what it was with Dorsey.
I think authentically, Brady and Allen get along better.
Yes.
And that is not a slight at Ken Dorsey. I just feel like Brady and Allen are more aligned. They are kind of similar in terms of, the juice that they bring, the expectations that they have, I think they just get along better, which is not a diss to Dorsey, but I just think that they are more lockstep.
Yep.
And I think that, and Joe Brady has even said, Josh, this is your offense.
Yep. I also wanted to add one thing. We were standing in the end zone, just like this, and they were practicing, and the next thing you know, whoosh, right over our head.
Trying to take out Fates.
And Josh just basically threw one away, and it was a good, how much over our heads? 10 feet over our head?
Yeah.
And we know he can throw the ball harder than that, but it's like
Yeah. Sizzled.
yes. So it was just
Off his back foot.
yes. Figured, Dan would go up there.
No.
It's like a jugs machine shot, that thing.
Honestly. All right, we got out the
What do
notebook.
you got in the notebook? I got my own notebook, not as fancy
I got my
as
phone.
Dan's.
All right, who wants to go first?
My first note is MVS is back
You were very excited when you wrote that down.
He caught some passes today.
with the ones.
Getting involved is what I wrote.
And on top of that, he was working, Josh and MVS were working after practice. Because they had some throws that went MVS's way that were either just outside of his fingertips or just behind him, like things like that. Then Josh was asked about his relationship with MVS, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, obviously a late start with him coming to OTAs fairly later than most guys, obviously signing him late in the process. Just getting to know him as a guy and feel his body language on the field. We've just been behind with the time, and I feel like this last couple of weeks we've really gotten into a groove and understand how he's thinking. He understands how I'm thinking. He's a very smart player. He's been a lot of really good offenses in his past and been around some really good quarterbacks. So he knows what he's talking about. He's got that experience, and it's good to lean on that.
Yeah, he's the second guy. When I asked Joe Brady about MVS, he said the same kind of thing. They were kind of behind the 8 ball, but now they respects his smart player, the speed, and trying to get on the same page. And that was kind of what I saw after practice working out together.
I did write MVS getting involved, which is...
How much did that hurt to write that down?
No, look,
Listen.
don't get me wrong. I love when you're wrong. But that being said, you have to adapt, and when things don't go your way...
Right, you just change the take normally. That's how you just spin it.
No, look, I not that I'm rooting for MVS's demise, because that would be too strong, but I'd rather have other players have more success, maybe because of my take. But no, he's getting involved. He has looked better. The first week of camp, I was genuinely concerned.
I wasn't.
You're such a liar.
By the way, I just said listen arbitrarily in the middle. And I don't know if that made Steve's bingo board.
Yeah.
Because
Which shout out him.
shout out, Steve. There's something coming your way, but thank you. But I just threw out, listen. What I was going to say was, I like to keep up the narrative as best we can, just so it's more obvious
When it does
when
come
it
to
does
fruition.
come to fruition.
Okay.
That's fair.
It is about DJF, not MVS.
Yes, it's always about DJ Fates. Is the J for Jugs machine? 11 on 11.
You think you're funny,
Yeah.
huh? Somebody commented and said these guys think they're so funny.
We are
And I
funny.
went, yeah.
Somebody also commented that Jana looks drunk.
Not high though. 11 on 11s today. A lot of the ones getting a lot of play. I
Yeah.
thought that was something to note as well.
Mac Hollins in the end zone,
Touchdown.
big.
Yes.
Flipped it to Edwards, got to do the spike. Offense was celebrating. And then right after that, defense was celebrating going the other way.
Rasul
Yeah.
Douglas, a pick 6.
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel slipped.
Slipped, yeah.
I don't think it would have mattered if he fell or not. Rasul read the route perfectly, hit him right in the numbers, and started running the other way. That was one I had. Ray Davis has impressed me with his blitz pickups. There have been 2 different plays that have stood out to me at camp. One was Matt Milano coming in on a blitz. One was Terrell Bernard. And Ray just lit the guy up. Like, great blitz pickup. That's what you're going to need to do.
Yep.
If you're going to
Yeah.
be trustworthy, you are also going to have to be trusted so that you can protect Josh.
You talk about trustworthy.
Yep.
James Cook.
Let's have a talk.
So
Let's
I-
have a talk.
Spell this out. You and I were talking on the sidelines, and we were talking about James Cook, ball security, he makes a play. And then the next play,
Yeah, I was joking like, oh, watch him fumble it. And then the next play, he fumbled it.
yeah, it was
And-
knocked out of his hands.
Was that Christian Bedford?
It was a punch out. Yeah,
Bedford.
Christian Bedford, yes.
Bedford had another one on him earlier in 7-on-7s.
Yes.
He caught it. He beat, I can't remember what linebacker or corner it was just about to go in the end
It
zone.
was Benford.
Benford came over and punched that ball out. I don't know who the guy he
Oh, I see
beat
what you're
was, but he came from the other side and punched the ball out. I don't know if it was a catch. I don't know if it was a fumble. I don't know if he would have broken the plane of the end zone, any of those things. But when it's James Cook and the ball hits the ground again, it's something we need to talk about.
Yeah, because they've shown it's the thing that holds him back. Hold
Yeah.
him back. Drop passes, it's the ball in his hands. It's drop passes or putting it on the ground one other way. We
Yeah.
saw a drop on a easy one over the middle a couple of days ago. I mean,
So-
that can happen, but in this case...
What about the one
well,
right over when he came across on a crossing route
Oh,
and
he's
the
a-
ball didn't touch his
his
hands?
Yeah.
I
It's
think it's the
definitely
thing.
it's definitely concerning.
Going off of concerning things.
Is it past concerning?
Going off?
No. I'm saying with James Cook.
I was like, what saying is that? Pick his ear? Like,
Is it past concerning? Genuine
it's
question.
a full-on, it's just his weakness. It's just a full-on weakness.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean,
Yeah.
because
this
they
isn't just one time.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Is we say concerning, but to me, it's like, is it past that? Because we have shown, it's been shown again and again over camp, and obviously in the regular season, that has been the thorn in his side, and
Yeah.
that is so costly.
Yeah, and I think I'm not going to say they have to live with it, but I believe he's the number one back. He's going to get the touches.
Yeah.
He's going to just have to prove that because most NFL teams have very little patience with a guy putting the ball on the ground one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I've said this to you before. I remember Fred Jackson telling me, you don't want your name up on the board in the other team's locker room. When they know it'll come out,
Yep.
we will knock the ball out because they're coming for you.
Yeah.
And that becomes a thing. So we'll see how it goes.
Going off of concerning things, Tyler Bass today missed 2 field goals.
Yeah.
This is officially a problem.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get a lot of opportunities in the preseason. I think they'll want to see how it goes.
It just doesn't look right coming off his foot.
One of them sliced like my drive, like it wasn't good off the foot.
Yeah, now we see him in these segments out here on the field. Again, we'll see how he is in the games in the preseason because he's going to get every opportunity to kick.
Mike, take one step back.
They obviously cut Browning too. Do you think they'll bring in competition in terms of?
I don't think it'll ever be a competition. I think it'll be a cut, and a guy comes off the street
And
and
I
has
don't
the job.
I don't think they want to do that. They've invested money in him.
I
but
agree. I don't think they want to do that, but it definitely, to me, is something that you
I
look
think-
at when he used to run out there. You'd be like automatic,
Yeah.
and now it's like, woo.
Yeah.
I think he has to be bad, and I think he's got to be. It would have to be really bad. I think it would have to be bad in the preseason, or he would start the year. There is always kickers out there.
There's
Yeah.
always kickers.
There's always
Yes,
kickers.
you have
We
said
always
that.
know that.
There was
Anything
also
else?
another low snap from Connor McGovern today. Alec Anderson continued to get some work in with the first team offensive line at center. And then he's also was the 6th lineman that came in on goal line. So they continue
Yeah.
to use him.
Number 70 is eligible on this
Yeah.
play. That's what you're going to hear when David Edwards is in there. Look, when Dan is saying that about the 1, he's not challenging for the number 1 center spot. He is getting snaps
Correct.
to be the guy they would need if they
Yeah.
need to put somebody else in there at center.
Very true. AJ Epinesa had a sack today.
Yeah,
would
it was
have
a
had
fourth down. Yep,
yeah,
he
would
got
have
in.
had a sack today.
Khalil Shakir had another touchdown in the red zone, and it reminded me, it felt very similar to what Keon's touchdown was when Josh was rolling out. It looks
Yeah.
like the play's dead and throws it. The difference is that the ball that Josh threw to Keon was about 9 feet in the air, and Keon went and got it. The one to Shakir was about 2 feet off the ground, and he stayed low and made the catch. But again, that adaptability and the way to find ways to make yourself open for Josh when the play breaks down.
Josh also had a great throw to Dawson Knox, just floated it right above the linebacker. It was a beautiful ball. That was something where I'm like, ooh. And then I'm trying to think what else.
Taron Johnson's really good at football.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
talk about it enough. He's one of the 3 best players on this team at any position.
Yeah. We saw him on the sidelines. Jenna and I was talking to Cam Lewis. They started out going over some technique stuff, and then they were laughing and joking. Look, we think we're going to see him be more vocal, but in that case, he's being a good teammate and the whole thing.
Yeah.
But he is also, and Cam's been around, so it isn't anything. But I do see him doing that. I don't know if I necessarily see him doing it more than he used to.
Yeah.
I think
But-
we just notice it more
Yeah.
because Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer
Yeah.
are gone. Also, speaking of this guys like that, I've seen Rasul Douglas, Christian Benford, always around. They walk out on the
Yeah.
field together. They're always on the sidelines together. I like seeing that.
Unfortunately, Cole Bishop and Mike Edwards are consistently next to each other. They're not.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Mike Edwards run. I started to see Chase Claypool running off to the side, but again, this is tough for Mike Edwards, who's just, that's a hamstring that can linger, things
Yeah.
like that.
And
Yeah.
he's had that before. So,
Yeah.
well, before we get going here, I want my apology.
So I have to apologize to Mike. Oh, sorry. But I talked about my interview with DeJuan Smoot. I said that Mike was in the back of my shot.
Oh, no, explain how you said, you walked like this.
You were sauntering, sir. So, but the angle of the camera, you did not see Mike.
I
But
knew
what
it.
I was looking at, I just saw him in the background going like this.
So she checked the tape. She went to
I
the
checked the
replay.
tape.
No mic in the video.
sorry,
I
just
wasn't there,
saying.
and I told you I wasn't. And wait a minute, that is your apology?
I'm sorry. You know, I properly apologize. You were right. I was wrong. You're smart. I'm not. I'm trying to think of one
By the
more.
way, just so
This
you
is
know,
the open.
Just so you know, when I was doing some other work for our TV station, who's standing behind me in my shot?
That I did as a joke.
Okay. Oh, it's a joke when it's you. It's old man when it's me.
Shout out to Chris and his son Joe from Long Island. They stopped
it.
me today. Said they loved the
Sweet.
podcast. Appreciate that. So that was
Love
cool
it.
meeting them
That's
at practice.
Really nice.
We've had a lot of shout-outs. I wanted to mention Tina, Larry, Tina, and Joshua. I don't think we mentioned them a couple days ago. Saw them in the parking lot. I know
Love
they had
it.
met you, I think, at Tampa game.
Oh, yeah.
So they were there, and I think I got the names right. Thank you for talking about Buffalo Plus.
Yeah, we always appreciate it.
Matt Beauvais cackling over there.
Matt Beauvais, Channel 7 sports director in Buffalo.
Yes.
Friend of the channel.
Always game day guy.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Always.
It's always game day with Beauvais. That's just the way he operates.
Yeah.
He's so pink right now. All right, that'll do it for us. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, as well as share. We always appreciate it. For Mike Catalana and Dan Fates, I'm Jenna Cottrell. We'll catch you next time.
I didn't
here.
run into a jugs machine today. Big win.
One day in a row.
Big win for Dan.
We'll see
Hey,
you
just
next
try to
time.
stack good days on top of one another.
We need to get a sign.
Tomorrow we're just going to try not run into a jugs machine again.